All right, everybody. Hi, welcome back to the show. I'm Maria Ryan. I'm your dog trainer and your host of this podcast. We have Adam Spencer joining us from Furlanthropy, little play on the words. And you are the founder and president of that organization. And I checked out your website, and I know you guys are updating some stuff, and we'll talk about. But we'll talk about that. And I do have it bottom there of the page it's going across, and I will link it in the description when everything gets posted and all that kind of stuff. But tell me, I have questions for you, Adam. First of all, hi, how are you?
Great. It's so great to meet you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Oh, you're welcome. I'm so happy to have you. Like I said, so many questions. All right. The first thing I was like, I looked at your name and I was like, CFRE. I'm like, what
Mhm,
is that? And I'm like, FR is probably fundraiser. I'm like, I don't
mhm,
know. So I looked it up and I want you to tell the people what that stands for and what it is.
Sure. Well, in my line of work, I've been a fundraising executive for many different causes over the past about 20 years. And in my field, you don't have to have a degree to be a fundraiser, but there are certain certifications that help. And so CFRE stands for Certified Fundraising Executive. And so it
Awesome.
requires to be able to take this grueling exam, which takes forever. In fact, some people get t-shirts that says, I survived my CFRE exam. And so you have to have served X amount of years in the industry, raised X amount
Wow.
of dollars, and
Mm,
just have a general knowledge of all the different ways to give. And what that
mhm.
does is it just gives individual donors a comfort level to know, okay, this guy is bound by ethics in fundraising that someone else may not be, or for-profits aren't bound by. And then just if someone's talking about a legacy gift, for example, the Forever Legacy Society for Philanthropy, or that someone wants to make a stock gift or a donor advised fund gift, they usually want to have those conversations with someone who's knowledgeable and can handle the
Yeah.
transactions of those types of gifts.
Yeah. I think it might maybe, especially when we're talking about money and that type of thing or donations, we want somebody who has just something behind their name to say, "Okay, this is a legit company, he's a legit guy, this is a real certification." I looked it up and Cornell popped up that they have, like, a
Mhm.
two-month program. I didn't delve into it, but I was like, "Oh, that's kind of cool."
Yeah.
So how long did it take you? You mentioned that you have to have so many hours in the industry of fundraising. What if
It
you
is.
don't have any? What if you're like, "I'm brand new, but I
Sure.
wanna be certified?"
Sure. Well, there is a prerequisite, and honestly, it changes every year. I
Mhm.
just renew mine. I put in X amount of dollars raised in the past 3 years, and any education credits and that kind of thing. So we're always growing professionally,
Mhm.
and just staying on top of the latest trends and giving trends and giving vehicles and tax laws that are always changing. So I
Yeah,
couldn't tell
really.
you off the top of my head what that prerequisite is in
Sure.
2025. But and there's no reason why someone who says, I want to be a professional fundraiser. I'm passionate about this, and they can be brilliant and learn everything, and then and do their job at 100%, level
Mhm.
success, or earn that pedigree of experience, and then take their exam when they're ready. And so
Right.
there's nothing forbidding someone from being a top-notch, best of class fundraising professional. And there's
Mhm.
other things that you can do to give yourself some credit and value in the eyes of donors and other organizations, such as being a member of the AFP, which stands for Association of Fundraising Professionals. And there's
Okay.
chapters all across the country. I belong to the one here in Lynchburg, Virginia. I served as the president
Mhm.
for many years, on that board for many years. And with that, once you're an AFP member, you're bound by a code of conduct. And there's a thing called a donor bill of rights. And it basically says if you're a donor and you're giving to a charity, you have all these moral, ethical, and legal and financial rights that you otherwise wouldn't be if you just handed money to someone on the fly, or if you just gave money to a GoFundMe or one of those for-profit crowdfunding platforms. So there's a lot of value to the donor as well.
Mhm.
And then there's other things that, you can get training in specifically in planned giving, estate giving. So there's a variety of different certifications you can and trainings you can add, like any profession that you can add
Yeah,
to your resume.
right on. So it sounds like very in depth for sure. So, okay, so you said you've been in fundraising for over 20 years?
Yeah, about 20 years. Yeah, I've done a
How
variety. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that's a long time to be dedicate your life to that. Cause what type of fundraising have you done, and what made you do has it always been animals, or, if not, what made you turn to the animals and the
Oh,
veterinarians and that industry?
well, that's a very, very, very special story. I'm super
Yeah.
excited to share with you.
Yay.
And over the past 20 years in nonprofit work, and I coached some basketball and semi-pro basketball. I was a sports agent for a couple of years before that.
Mhm.
But the last 20 years has really been focused on helping. I just love the philanthropic world, and there's so much needs out there. And so I've raised money
Mm,
for orphans in South Africa, for the American Red Cross, disaster relief, blood services,
mm,
for kids going to camp, at-risk camps, really a host of different things. And
mhm.
so I brought that into this space, but I had no idea, even 5 years ago, that I would be starting and leading a national and now I guess international charity to help pets. It's so far removed from anybody who knows me, is just surprised.
Mm.
And so I can tell you a little bit about the history. It really begins with my wife Erica. She and I met about 5 years ago, and she had just lost her dog Poochie, sadly,
Aw.
and to the Rainbow Bridge. And Kobe, my cat of 20 years, went on to the Rainbow Bridge as well. So we're both
Mm.
grieving a little bit.
Yeah.
And so we had just gotten married. So I wanted to make
Mhm.
sure, being the good new husband, yes, ma'am, whatever you
Yes.
want, right? But then she said this really fateful thought, and it just, it was stunning. She said, "Honey, I think we need to get a dog." And of course, my very logical response was, "Absolutely not. I don't want a dog."
You
And
just
so the
like,
truth
"No."
is, like, seriously, and the truth
Interesting.
is, when I was a kid, I had a dog named Sterling and loved it, but that was many moons ago, 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
And over the years, probably like maybe some of your listeners or some of the folks out there, I had just become afraid of dogs. And I had no idea what I was missing. And I had no idea the journey I was about to embark on. But with a little twisting of arms from our five teenagers, I agreed just to go to look. But they knew what they
Uh-huh.
were doing, right? They
Of
knew,
course.
right? So we go down to the local humane society, and I walk in, and I'm annoyed. As we're walking in, I'm saying, I don't want a dog. What are we doing here? But I'm going with the flow. So my daughters, my five kids, and my wife, they walk in first, and there's just rows and rows of these cages with these very hyper dogs. Now, to be
Yeah.
honest with you, my thought was, do they want to eat me, hug me? I wasn't quite sure. I'm not
Mhm.
a dog guy, so what's going on?
Mhm.
What am I even doing here? I would go through the whole thing, and of course, they're all excited. And I'm, just regular, top of mind. I don't want a dog. I don't want a dog. But we get to the last cage, and they actually missed her as they walked by. But I just caught this glimpse of a little lump of fur in the back corner. And I
Mm.
thought, okay, to appease my family, I need to look at least one dog. Well, and how harmful could that be? So I'm like, hey guys, come look at this one. And of course, they're all encouraged. Wow, Dad actually wants to
Ooh,
look at a
he's
dog, right?
yeah, this is good. We'll
This
get
is good,
whatever it
right?
is. Yeah.
So I'm like, there's no chance, right? And thankfully, I thought there's a waiting list for this dog. Phew. And
Oh.
there's actually in the meet and greet room someone already scheduled to meet and greet with this precious
Oh.
fur baby. So we're just looking through this little window in the door as this dog is going nowhere near this other potential parent,
Mhm.
but kept coming up to the window. And my wife says, "Honey, I think that's a sign right there." I said, "Oh, no, 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 no.
Mm.
She just thinks we have treats." I kind of dismissed it. And so, a while later, we go home, and the folks at the Humane Society say, "Hey, we'll let you know on Monday." But there's a long list. And great, no problem. So I get in the
Mhm.
car, and I could see like my kids and my wife are all kind of down a little bit, and I'm like, yes. And so, but she's like, Adam, we always pray about everything in our family. So she's, you need
Yeah.
to say a prayer, and I'm like, okay, I'll say a prayer. So I
Mhm.
did, kind of tongue in cheek, if it's meant to be, kind of thing. But Stephanie, the strange thing happened over the weekend. I couldn't shake it. Like this thought kept coming to mind of this precious little dog.
Aw.
And I would dismiss it. I don't want a dog. I don't want a dog. It's not going to happen. There's a long waiting list. And I don't want a dog anyway. Well, then I get a phone call Monday morning. Mr. Spencer, she's all yours. On down.
Get
What?
out of here.
You must be mistaken. Like, no, no, no. Like, you had me confused with someone. Oh, she's all yours. Oh, no. So then we go down,
Unbelievable.
right? So I walk in with my wife. We agreed to keep the kids at home just in case it didn't happen, which I was
Yeah.
hoping it wouldn't happen. But we get
Still.
in there
Yeah.
still. And then the lady said these other magic words, which were, she's half price today. And my wife says, honey, how do you turn down a half price dog? And she knows like I'm OCD about coupons. She's like, how do
Come
you turn down
on.
a half price dog? I'm like, oh, okay. So moments later, there's this scene, this Hallmark scene where the staff there is carrying this little lump of fur who's super scared and frail and hands her to me. And Stephanie, it's like if you've ever handed a newborn baby to someone who's never held a baby before. That's kind of
Yeah.
like it was. There's this really
Terrified.
awkward picture of us, like a slinky dog. I'm not even
Yeah.
holding her correctly. And she's
Uh-huh.
looking at me and I'm looking at her like, what in the world's going on? And click, click, take a picture. I'm like, what? So it was just crazy. So now we're walking out of the Humane Society with her and I'm saying out loud, I don't want a dog. I don't want a dog. I'm getting louder and louder. And people around me are like, what is wrong with this guy?
You're saying it
Right?
out
I'm saying
loud?
out loud. I'm just
Are
like, I
you
do
still
not want a
holding
dog.
her?
Yeah, I'm holding her like, I don't want a dog. I don't want a dog. I don't want a dog. And we're walking across the parking lot and I'm feeling a little manipulated and a little pressured. And I'm like, I just don't want this. Don't want a dog. And then it happened. It happened. Literally, I look down. I'm getting emotional, but I look down
Aw.
and I see her cute, precious eyes look up at me. I kissed her head and I said, I love you and I'm going to take care of you. And in that moment, my wife, did you just tell the dog you loved it? Did you just kiss the dog? I'm like, what just happened right there? And it literally was like this out of body, spiritual, divine. I can't, it's hard to even put in
Aw.
words. I'm sure there's listeners on the podcast that have been in these moments before. Literally, Hazelnut, as we've affectionately named her, changed my heart in a moment. And I mean, she radically changed it. She touched my heart in a way that no one and nothing ever has. And in that moment, I just fell in love with her. And not just that, but I love dogs. And it's crazy. I can't walk past a dog without talking to her. We've literally adopted a Chihuahua, which is
Get out.
dangerous. Never, no one
It
ever gave me
is.
the playbook for a Chihuahua, but we adopted a
Right.
Chihuahua.
They're small, but man, look
They're
out.
mighty, right?
Yeah.
and, and
Beyond.
and so here I am, just my heart is just radically changed. And so I say she not only did we rescue Hooper, she really truly rescued us. And she rescued my
Indeed.
heart. This crusty guy, came in my life and totally radically changed it. And so that's how we
Wow.
sort of got here. And I can tell you more about the her story, but
Well, I wanna talk about her a little bit.
sure.
So you said she was in the back of were they like, what we call, like, real life rooms where there's a door with a glass and not in cages? I need
No, this was
you're killing me. I don't have my tissues next to me.
oh no, these were
You just
actual cages. And
you
I
just
don't
killed me with the story.
aw. And I don't want to, they do a marvelous
No.
job at the Humane
It's
Society. And so but it's just sad,
yeah.
it's the cement floor.
Well, it's reality.
And it's reality. And so,
Mhm. Yeah, for sure.
um, seeing her back there, and that said a lot to me that these other dogs were anxious, probably saying, will you adopt
Right.
me? And maybe
Mhm.
she's just saying, it's never going to happen to me. And the
Right.
sad thing about her, the backstory and how we end up here with philanthropy, and
Right.
why I believe by the grace of God, she chose me and found me. We know that, well, first, her previous family, and she's only about, we estimate about a year old at this point, and
Yeah.
her first family had to forfeit her because they couldn't afford her life-saving care. And we know
Huh.
that in America, two-thirds of pets in America are euthanized just because of finances.
Right.
So she's one of the lucky few that this
Mhm.
veterinarian said, you know what, we're going to save your life. I don't know why he did that. I got to believe it's just a divine intervention. He
Mhm.
had no idea the path that this dog would be on and the
Mhm.
incredible impact she would have. But they did the life-saving care, and then he donated the dog to the Humane Society for adoption. And so
Wait,
we
wait.
brought her, yeah,
I have questions. Was
sure.
it there? Was it, the pet parents, vet that they used on the regular, and they found out he diagnosed the pet with, some illness, and they just couldn't afford it? What was
Yeah.
that story?
Yeah,
Or do
I
you
don't
know?
have a lot of details on that.
Hmm.
There was part
Okay.
of me that
I
there's
was just
such,
curious.
yeah, there was such joy and just such a sweet dog. I mean, she's just radically changed. She's gained 60 pounds, apparently 10 pounds too much, and she's super happy.
Hmm.
And I kept thinking about that family, and just how heartbreaking that they missed out on this beautiful blessing because of money. And
Right.
part of me thought, I wish I could reach out to them and say, hey, guess what? She's okay now and she's yours. But part of
Hmm.
me is thankful I don't know who they are because I don't want to give her up,
Well,
it's just
yeah,
selfishly,
yeah,
right?
of course.
So I don't know, their personal financial situation or dynamics at all.
Right.
But I'm grateful that her journey, her Hazelnut's journey, didn't end there.
Right.
But she was given another chance. She was one of the rare minority pets in America in that situation that got the care she needed and was able to find another home. And so that right there in of itself is a miracle. But just thinking about the situation and my heart broke for that family. Again, I don't know who they are or even where they live.
Hmm.
But I thought as a fundraising executive all these years, knowing just the gazillions of dollars that are out there that people give to pet related causes,
Right.
surely there's got to be a solution. And there wasn't. And that's why we created philanthropy.
I love it.